Here in North Carolina, our license plates say first in flight, and the reason for that is this right here. Wright Brothers. There's the hill right there where the Wright Brothers, I don't know if you can see the monument very well, right there. That's where the Wright Brothers flew the first flight, man-powered flight, right here in North Carolina on the Outer Banks, Kill Devil Hills. So here's a better picture of the monument. I went ahead and stopped and got out. Great big granite monument. Big beacon up on top up there at night that flashes around and around. And that's the hill. Let me back her back out. That hill right there is the hill that the Wright brothers launched from. If you go up on top, they've got markers down there that marks the successive flights and the distance that they went on each flight. This is one of our lighthouses here on the Outer Banks. This is called the Body Island Lighthouse. This lighthouse is not functional. You may be able to see up at the top, it's all wrapped in plastic up there where the glass usually is and where the light is inside. This thing's been under renovation for several years. The funding actually ran out last year. They had this whole thing wrapped up in scaffolding, and the whole top of it was enclosed in canopy. And they had to tear it all down. There's no railings up there around the top. Years ago you could walk up to the top of it and get out and walk around the catwalk up there. But they've taken all the railings down, all the cast iron needed to be reworked. So apparently they've gotten funding again and they're going to start building back. As you can see, it's a construction area here. There's a building right there to the left of the lighthouse. This bus pulled up and blocked me just as I was getting ready to get out. That's the old keeper's quarters, where when this thing was manned 100 years ago or so. When it was manned, the keeper and his family would live right there in that house. They'd live right here on the grounds. So Body Island Lighthouse, one of the lighthouses here on the island, or on the Outer Banks. This is on the island where Nag's Head is. It's the island just north of Hatteras. Just one of the lighthouses, not the most famous. I'll show you the most famous. It's down in Hatteras when we get down there. And here's the view from the top of Ordnance Bridge coming on to Hatteras. That area of land you see at the end of the bridge is Hatteras Island. Almost home again, at least on the island anyway, it's home. So here's our fragile little highway that takes us on and off the island. As you can see right over here, that's the dune. That's the only thing that separates the highway from the ocean, especially when it gets rough. Drive around as bicyclist. And it's right to the edge of the highway. That's what it looks like. We've had a couple of days of some fairly strong northeast winds. That wind blows off the ocean towards the highway, and that's kind of moved the sand that's blown over the top and down onto the highway in some places, right up to the edge. But that's what we have to drive through. When the weather's bad, we have hurricanes, or even worse in the wintertime, it's nor'easters, northeasters. That messes us up even more than a hurricane sometimes. You'll have 2 or 3 feet of this sand will be right here on the highway instead of piled up over there. So just some of the things we have to deal with living here on a what they refer to as a barrier island. It's really just a fairly narrow, long sandbar, just a strip of sand that sticks out in the ocean. That's all our island is. So. Alright, we'll continue home and show you some more stuff on the way. The first part of the island when you come on, up here on the north end, is actually called Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge. And the first 10 or 12 miles is part of a national wildlife refuge. I don't know if you can tell, this is a pond over here. There's actually some geese right there. This is a pond. They've got a series of 3 or 4 big ponds that they maintain for the migratory waterfowl in the wintertime, the ducks and stuff. Actually, when Irene came through last year, it damaged the dike back in the back that they use to back the water up when they pump it in from the sound. So this pond didn't have near as much water in it this winter as it normally does, because they couldn't hold the water because of the hurricane and the breach in the dike. But it's nothing in the wintertime normally to drive through here and drive past these ponds and see thousands and thousands of ducks and other type of migratory waterfowl. There's a lot of swans that come in here, whistling swans, and just a whole lot of ducks. But this is all part of the Wildlife Refuge, National Wildlife Refuge. The federal government owns a majority of this island, unlike the island where Nag's Head is. This island, the only development on Hatteras Island, is located in one of the 7 villages that are strung out down through the island. As you can see, I mean, it's miles and miles of nothing. You know, the ocean's right over there, and the sound's right over there. It's actually kind of wide here in this area. Some areas it's pretty narrow, but this is your view for miles and miles and miles. Nothing but seaweed, sand dunes, and the sea oats that grow on the sand dunes, and nature. That's it for miles. That's the reason I like Hatteras. Some of the villages are kind of grown up, built up, especially over the 24 years or so that I've lived here, but it's still nothing like just an hour north up in Nag's Head, where I just came from. It's still real quiet down here and pretty secluded, especially, like I say, compared to Nag's Head. Here's another one of the ponds that they maintain for the ducks. So, okay, here's another shot of that bridge that they had to build after Hurricane Irene. Prior to Hurricane Irene, this was a highway, and now it's a bridge. Right here, where this water sweeps through on its way out into the ocean, this was all high and dry land. Right over there on that side, where that big, looks like sand cliffs over there, there's actually a building, several buildings right there. It was an installation, federal government installation. It was a maintenance area. They had a couple of houses that their people lived in, and a maintenance shop and other stuff, and it eroded. Once this inlet cut through, it eroded so bad that I had to tear the buildings up. And like I said, this bridge, it looks like it was put together with an erector set. It's supposed to be temporary. They are working on a solution for us to have something permanent here. My guess is it's going to be a permanent bridge, but they said that this one can last 10 years if it needs to, so we'll see. But this is our new way on and off the island ever since Hurricane Irene. Okay, here we come into the first section of where people live on the island. I don't know if you can see the difference in asphalt right there, but from right there to just a little ways down here, I'll show you where this dune is here with no vegetation. Here you go. From this line in the asphalt where it's new darker asphalt, all through here, this was just all covered in sand and water when Irene came through. You'll be able to see right over here. This is where the water pushed through from the sound and completely destroyed the road. All these houses right here, up until just a month and a half ago or so, these were still completely surrounded by water, just like what you see with that one there. They were all still completely surrounded by water. You couldn't get to them. They just filled that in with sand and concreted the driveways and stuff only about a month and a half ago. Okay, real quick, because I've got about 2 minutes left on this disc. Here's the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. This is in Buxton, just right up the road from where I live. Probably one of the most famous and most widely recognized landmarks on the entire Outer Banks. It's the tallest freestanding brick lighthouse in the United States. It stands a little over 200 feet tall. And it's the guardian of the graveyard of the Atlantic. It points out Diamond Shoals, which is a shoaly sandbar area that projects out about 12 miles into the ocean, and that light spins around at night about every 7.5 seconds, and you can see it 15 to 17 miles out into the ocean on a clear night. So still functional. You can actually climb it. You can probably see people up on the top, and maybe one day I'll climb it for you and show you what it looks like from up top, but I'm not gonna do it today. It's too windy anyway. You wouldn't be able to hear. It would be so aggravating sounding when I got up there. You wouldn't be able to stand it. Alright, that's all the time.